this new career spanning collection that you're putting out is pretty impressive. I was just looking at it here. They sent me the press release. It's. Do you know what? It's about bloody time. That's all I'd say. Because
Is that what?
it's about bloody time.
Oh, about
Yeah,
time. Okay.
yeah. You need to. People need to acknowledge what an influence you've been on. Yeah, I mean, a lot of people's careers could not really have happened in the same way without you.
Well, if you think the compilation does that, you know,
Well,
it should be able to be done as you imply by what you've put out in the past. But
yeah, but people don't pay attention like they should.
that's right. Okay.
Yeah,
You got to feed them, right? You got to feel.
yeah. You've got to
Because
spoon.
they used to have combinations anyway of different arrangements of tracks that were alongside others, and now you change the order, you shift them up, you put them in like in a ball, and you shake them up, and you know
Yeah, yeah.
it's another experience.
And so tell us about growing. Set the scene for us if you can, for the you growing up in the scene that brought you to the forefront with suicide.
The
I mean, who with which other bands were around? Were you in bands before that, etc.?
yeah, I had my own band, Reverend B. I was working with a very avant-garde improvising band called Steve Tipwace and the Purple Y. And of course, I've been working for several years in groups here and there,
Right.
like doing one-nighters. Uh, I grew up on all the bands, rock and roll, uh, post-doo-wop, 60s, late 50s music was my childhood, my infants, mother's milk, you might say. And
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So who were your favorite musicians at that point in your early years?
well, there were so many groups. Musicians later on, from about 12 on, I started listening intently to jazz, uh, jazz music that was going on in my environment that was very relevant. And of course, I had favorites then. I had favorites in rock and roll, rhythm and blues groups, but there were many, many. And Jesters, I mean, Flamingos.
I mean, what I find fascinating about your albums, especially your solo albums, is the incredible mixture between the avant-garde and the entirely familiar. I think the only person who's ever kind of mastered that to the same extent that I know of is Frank Zappa, really. And
Hmm.
for me, he was an enormous influence, as were, without blowing smoke up your ass, you were a big influence on the Human League and the early stuff that we did in particular. Um,
Influence on the who? I'm sorry.
the Human League, which I started,
Oh, the Human League. I see.
yeah, and there was also a band from Sheffield, where I'm from, called Cabaret Voltaire, who you may have heard of, but they were constantly referencing your influence on their work in Sheffield, where I came from.
Mm-hmm.
And so you were pretty much the hippest band in Sheffield when I was growing up in the 70s. And I just, that's why I'm so completely thrilled to be talking to you today.
Oh, well, thank you.
Yeah.
Likewise.
Oh, thank you. Um, um, so, as I said, you influenced a lot of young. I mean, they call you what you were doing proto-punk now, I suppose. Um, but you definitely were a major influence on us. Orchestral Maneuvers in the Dark as well.
Mm.
Uh, and lots and lots of bands quote you as a major influence. When you started, did you see yourself as real outsiders?
Um, well, sure. If I looked around, I probably always saw myself to some extent that way. because of my certain intensity of compulsion, obsession with music as a whole. So growing up, you're already an outsider.
Right.
It's not the flow of the mainstream is not. Most people make their peace with those kinds of aspirations very early in school and whatnot. I'm not going to go that far. It's too risky. So I was already an outsider from school, early school days. And then suddenly as a musician, as the music I was doing as a musician and studying, learning was not the mainstream taste either or uh, environment. And then it was just carried in. I mean, suicide, if I just looked around, like I mentioned, especially then too, and also the other bands, we, some liked very much. We all got along with each other,
Right.
but it wasn't sounding or looking quite like us.
And your live shows, which I regret that I never actually got to see one in the flesh. Your live shows, were they provocative in any sense?
Well, that's what I hear. They were incredibly provocative from what you've been told and probably you've read and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there was some kind of the account of one that I read where there was some self-harm happening, or is that true?
Cell phone?
Yeah, kind of. Because AB Pop used to do the same thing, so it's no.
Yeah. Alan was really uh, veered in his direction as an artist, which he was totally dedicated to. I met him, a visual artist. But right before we did meet, uh, he had seen the Stooges play in New York at Forest.
Right.
And he told me that changed his whole life as an artist. And he walked out of that show. He said, I can no longer continue being an artist unless I unless I perform and reach the proscenium, as Iggy likes to call it, which it is a proscenium, reach the audience stage barrier.
Right.
And,
Fourth wall. Yeah.
which was in the air at the time and certainly was pre explored by groups like the Living Theater, one of the first. And then, of course, going back to the philosophies, the work of Art Toe and people like that.
So you saw yourself as conceptual artists, really, I suppose.
He felt that way, was it?
Yeah, well, did you feel that way?
No, I never felt, I mean, concepts have always been an ingredient, of course. Without concepts, we're not, it's part of our thinking process. But I never felt that what I end up doing uh, for myself always has to feel like it's beyond the concept. Whatever concepts have been involved in the decision making to get there, but the music itself has to move me.
Yeah, of course.
Like music has always done, and certain music always does and will. And that's what I want to create. And I can't get moved personally that way from pure concept.
Right, right.
I love concept as a way of a discovery of another way of getting into something under the surface in a way that opens up something new to me that I can then explore to fly, so to speak.
Can you tell us about your songwriting process?
Uh, It's pretty. It's as suicide as soul.
As suicide, yeah, as suicide.
Oh, it was a fairly clear, simple matter because we had everything. So there's only two of us, so it was very. Our roles were so well defined that we both. That's the roles we wanted going in. So I would create soundtracks. It could come together when we did to rehearse, so to speak. I would play something that I found was during the week or whatever. I said, "Man, that's going to work. It's good." I'd start playing. Alan would start singing, and whether he or putting words to it. I was always playing on my own. He was always writing lyrics on his own. So when he heard what I was doing, he would he would possibly improvise some lyrics, or he had a whole bunch in his head that he had been like from his notebooks and stuff, and he would just throw a lyric on that he felt worked on that, and it would come very quickly. Uh, so the music gave him the suggestion of and out of his lyric pile, certain ones came right away, and or improvised, as I mentioned. So that was it. I mean, it was like, well, after that we could do them again, maybe at the next time we played, and refine maybe or change this or that, maybe more in the words, found where to change something. If I had a suggestion for him and he thought for I, it was very rare, but we can sometimes modify a bit, but it wasn't the usual case.
Yeah. The interesting thing about, I mean, my band, Heaven 17, there used to be three of us, and now there's only two of us. And I find that when there's two people in a band, you cannot argue, because if you argue, the whole thing disintegrates. And if it's three people, it's more problematical sometimes. So I think two is a good unit,
Two is a very good unit. The more you have, of course, the more potentially arithmetically, the more problems that can arise because now you have three. Well, at the same time, you can argue with two, and two can also resolve arguments.
Yeah. Yeah,
So,
or you have to, or else you can't continue. So
yeah.
Yeah. So you're a self-taught musician, is that right?
Basically, I went to teachers that I chose growing up. A couple that very early were chosen for me as a child. While I was a teenager, at some point, I started choosing my own teachers, and I've always been researching, teaching myself beyond that up to this day.
Yeah, we never stop learning, do we? Every day's a school day.
Okay, yeah, there's so much, it's so incredibly, what did it say, fecund? It's so
Fecund, love that word.
fecund. So yeah, it's incredibly fertile, this world, like others too. And it never
Never
ends wrong, which is incredible. I love.
If you were to categorize your music, I know I hate categories as well, but if you were to categorize your own music, how would you describe it? I mean, let's move on to your solo stuff in particular, because I wasn't familiar. I have to be completely honest. I wasn't familiar with a lot of it until I listened to it solid for about 8 hours today, and now I am literally inside your head. Well, you're inside my head.
Yeah, nice
And I'm just completely blown away. I just want to understand if what I think about it is similar to how you view it. So I know it's hard for you to say because it just pours out you presumably, but how would you categorize it? Would you say?
Well, after that, I'd be more interested in what you think of it.
Okay. Well, shall I tell you what I think?
more fresh.
Yeah,
They,
I suppose so. Um, I
oh, what's around?
I've written some weird things down here, so I'm going to share them with you. I've written little slices of hallucinogenic Americana was one.
Pieces of what kind of Americana?
Hallucinogenic.
Okay.
Um, and then I was particularly taken by Demolition Number 9,
Uh-huh.
that album. And for some reason I wrote down Fragments of a Man.
Fragments
Of a Man.
of
It's like almost like
yeah.
an examination of your psyche in small fragments. You know, I just thought it was really a fascinating album and so diverse and so beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
It was like a kind of installation to me.
Mm-hmm.
And well, take fact, yes, let's take that as an example. So if you,
Yeah.
I know I'm jumping around the timeline here. It's not,
No, that's
yeah.
what you
But Fragments of a Man. Talk to me about that album.
Fragments of a Man. Demolition Noise.
Not sorry, that's not the album title. Demolition Number 9.
Fragments of a Man. It's a good title.
It's a good title for an album, though.
You may see me
Uh,
speak about some of this.
just give me a little 6-point credit somewhere on the sleeve.
It's a big title for a book too.
Yeah, hey, it's a good title for an autobiography.
Yeah, movie. Yeah. I may use it. Won't be the next one, but
I'd be flattered. It'd be great.
I already did use it. That's the
Yeah.
demolition, right?
Yeah.
You know, that's what you suggest. Actually, is that the categories at best might apply per album. I couldn't categorize. I couldn't begin to categorize what I do anyway. To categorize each album, it's always the kind of thing. Now you get into the domain of words. It's a whole different it's a whole different experience, of course. The literary experience, expressing yourself with words. So it's like when a record company years ago, like for maybe Cheyenne or Nantes or something like that, they said, "Can you write us a little something?" They always tempted to ask you that too, like it's a promo or something. Can you write us like a paragraph? Okay, now I'm going into words. Yeah, you could find the words. I'm not I'm not a writer, and there's a reason why I never chose to be, or reasons. But it's an incredibly, of course, beautiful
Oh,
situation, and for the people who have chosen it for their life's work, they get probably the same or more out of it as much that I get out of music. I mean, they're in the world. That's their beauty, their escape, their joy.
that's right.
Thing is, I could think of a whole lot of things to say, but it's never going to describe the music. I can't describe music because words don't describe totally the music. Music doesn't describe totally words. They exist in a beautiful coexistence, like music and art, visual art. We could say music. That's a marriage that maybe is the closest fate in heaven. And but does the music describe the drama? Yeah, maybe to an extent, if it's really sensitive to it. Does the drama really describe the music? Maybe in that sense, like a scene from a movie. But no, the music cannot be totally described that way. And I don't think the drama could be totally described by the music. It can be totally accompanied, enhanced in a way that amplifies it, that brings it out,
Yeah.
or other aspects. So Demolition 9, I don't know. It's like anything else that I've done. It starts with an idea that's not usually going to last that long because it's going to lead to other ideas and then other ideas and other ideas. And, any expectations going in and through it are going to find themselves occasionally rewarding you but otherwise they're not going to be fulfilled. So you hear what you're doing, you keep going to say this could be better, this is good, this is not, this is maybe, oh, this gives me an idea, change this, change this, change this. Oh, I was going in this direction a few weeks ago. I thought that would be, now it's going somewhere else. And I don't know where it's going any more than the music itself tells you.
Yeah.
What sounds right? If you put two notes together to you, out of a choice of, you could say, incredible amount of possibilities, or very few, because the scale, the Western scale, is only 12 notes, chromatic scale. So if you put two together, there are all kinds of ways in which they can be better than not. And depending on the note that came before them and the one that comes after them, they tell you something. Change the notes, or change the inflection, change the dynamic, change the loudness, change the softness. Or is this a line that if you're making a line here, like something that can be a so-called melody, although I'm not, or I mean, is this leading up to a line? Is a succession? Is that the right note in that succession? So they're all actually big bundles just of decisions that have been made through the journey. It's a journey. And at some point, you get a clearer image of feeling too, by hearing what you're doing, coming back to it, working on it, coming back, of where the best place for you is to, it seems to be taking a shape that makes the most sense to you at that point, where you can almost leave it. You can almost say goodbye, because before then, you knew you never could.
Wow, that's very beautifully put, I have to say. I mean, as a writer myself,
Oh,
I very much believe in the organic, letting it flow from the subconscious and not trying to intermediate too much, and then, if necessary, revisiting it when you become conscious of it later. And so it's like two layers for me when I do that stuff, because I do a lot of instrumental writing as well, and then we put lyrics onto it. But
a lot of. I remember reading some time ago that a lot of novelists, they don't consider themselves necessarily stream of consciousness or great mystery writers and whatnot. Some of them write without knowing the plot beforehand.
that's
It
right.
evolves, the characters evolve before them
Page.
on the page.
Yeah.
It's a very exciting proposition.
Yeah. Have you written an autobiography?
No,
Would you consider doing that?
I consider it, but not very far. Not very.
Because I did mine when it was in when we went into lockdown, because I thought, if I don't do something creative, I'm going to go insane. And I'd never written anything more than a small article before in my life. I ended up writing 130,000 words,
It's
and amazingly, the publishers more or less accepted it intact. And I can testify to what you said about writers of lyrics, writers of words. I now know it's possible to write and get into a zone doing that in the same way as you do with music. I had the same sensation of being in a meditative zonal state. And so anyway, I just thought I'd mention it to you, because I think you've had a fascinating life and career. And I'm sure people would be interested in hearing about it.
Well, I think it's basically, and a lot of it has already been written by others, like David Novak and Chris Leeds.
Yeah. Yeah, but not your take on it, though.
Yeah. The problem with an autobiography for me would be time. The time.
Right.
Again, I haven't chosen to be a writer for a very good reason. Not that I couldn't do it if I had dedicated myself to writing the way I did to music.
Right.
From an early age. If that was my love, so to speak. you know, not even so to speak. Uh, but if not, I don't need to split worlds hairs on myself.
No,
I
fair enough.
love the time that I have, that I use, uh, is for what gives me the most joy and the most pleasure in life.
Yeah, yeah.
When it comes to creating, and that's my world. So, and I couldn't do something. I wouldn't want to do something haphazard.
Exactly.
My own control trip on myself. But I would have to be correcting, reading over, editing.
Oh God, yeah.
You're a writer, though. At least you have that.
Yeah.
A little bit of that. You have that. At least to begin with, even if it's articles.
Yeah.
So it's more natural to you to wrote. But I wouldn't. I was offered not that long ago by a company to maybe do that, and I said, "Wow, I mean, I felt great that they were asking me, but I said, let's get someone else to do it."
A ghostwriter. Yeah.
Well, a ghostwriter or an actual writer, but their name.
Oh, I see. Right.
Yeah, like you could write if you'd like to write. Of course, it's not an autobiography; it's a biography.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah. Yeah. But the authorized biography. Yeah.
Yeah, autobiography. To be honest with you, Martin, we are the same. I like Martin with a Y. It's kind of nice. I may steal that from you too.
So you can have that. Don't worry. Wasn't my fault.
But to be honest with you, Martin, I'm not overly interested in hearing myself or seeing myself on what I've done, only because I know that already. It's not that.
Yeah, I found it a very interesting process. Of I wasn't expecting it, but like as a reflective process.
Yeah, an explorative, who knows,
Yes.
psychological, psychoanalytical.
Yeah.
We can, and we all go through that without writing, of course. We think of things, our lives over time, other things come to us, from years ago or years not so far ago, or sometimes many years ago, incidences that register now that didn't register same time because we're living them. And it's a whole world in itself. I mean, to write an autobiography like that, I'd want it to really express that incredible uh, sensation I have when I think of those things. No, then I might as well just write. I know them already. I'm sorry to say, I'm not that interested in going over what I know.
No, I understand. I understand that. What I've kind of fallen in love with audiobooks or audiobook versions of autobiographies read by the author. I think it's a fascinating difference between reading an autobiography. Anyway, and you've got such a great reading voice. It just occurred to me it'd be a good idea.
Well, that's an idea. I might be more conducive to doing that, although that's a lot of time too that I could be doing music.
Oh yeah,
But to do a live, which is kind of like what we did for the suicide books. I had to interview a lot, and that's why books. I don't gravitate towards books that much either. If they even, not that they come around every day, because they're time consuming. Most interviews we did, it was fun. I mean, I love talking to Chris Reeves. I love talking to David Novak. But it's hours,
Yeah.
And
we better make the most of what we got left, right?
Yeah. Well, it's time. Even if I had 1,000 years, I'd want to spend them with what gives me
the
most pleasure, most joy.
I can dig that.
It's like if you're in love with a woman or a man who say, okay, let's do this, but now you're not going to see her for 6 months. You used to see her every 3 days or every 3 weeks. It's an example of somewhat symmetry, but to do it live, to do it audio, as you mentioned, would be maybe something that'd be more conducive, because that's like an interview. We're almost doing it now, except we're doing it on certain levels, the musical level. I'm not going into.
Yeah.
fresh childhood and things like that, and people I knew.
Yeah. So, after the tragic death of your wife, you moved into writing stuff that was clearly seems to be affected by that, and it's very beautiful, I have to say. And the I'm not being prurient. I just wanted to mention it because I think
Sure.
obviously it was a part of your artistic journey as well. So, and the whole Latin thing I found fascinating, and the stuff that you were a couple of the albums where you were mixing the kind of beautiful kind of orchestral stuff with the with the kind of almost frenetic kind of drum solo stuff, and I just found it affected me today listening to that. I just thought, we've all had traumas of some description in our lives, but I've never had anything as awful as that. But
Hopefully you won't.
no, I can't imagine it. But
You do.
uh,
Yeah.
the only thing that could be worse, I suppose, is losing a child or something.
Possibly worse. Yeah, I don't. Thankfully, we don't. That's
Yeah.
that's fine.
Yeah. So, and anyway, I just thought as a genuine, as as a fan, as a genuine artistic expression of something that's almost too ephemeral to capture. I thought it really affected me. I thought it was beautiful, and I commend your honesty and your ability to express. And actually, maybe it gave you some solace, the fact that you could express using your craft in your art. Do you think that was the case?
Well, yeah, it did. It always does. Music has always given me solace at any stage of my life, as well as other emotions. But the interesting thing about Stigmata, which I think you're referring
Yeah.
to,
Yeah.
is that the album was actually pretty much done. It was already in demo stage uh, while my wife was here. And as a matter of fact, I'd gone out to do, it was a tour, I think at that time. There was a solo tour. And I left it for her. She hadn't heard it yet to hear while I was gone. And when I returned, she had she made notes on it and she did the whole critique. She was just an incredible mind and artist together. I mean, intellect, artistic intellect. And the interesting thing there is that, of course, it was completed, the fine touching and complaint. I didn't have an arrangement, a deal for it right away, like most of them or all of them. That took a while, so I'd go back to it. I'd hear something should be changed, it could be. But the day that she all of a sudden had to go to the hospital, there was nothing before that she wasn't ill or anything like that. Thankfully, she lived right up to the last minute. I had gotten up a little earlier because my agent in Europe said, "Let me send me a copy of that album if you can." I told her she may have gotten, it was maybe going to be the first one anybody else was going to hear outside of it. May have been one before, I'm not sure, but whoever it was, we didn't do it that time. They did the nymphs first. And so I got up a little earlier, just a little, maybe an hour to to put it, get it addressed and whatnot for the post. Here's an autobiography, point. And
Yeah.
too early for me because we were in a habit then of staying up late together, and actually too late in retrospect, and too late then too. So you wake up kind of tired. And Mari was in bed and she saw me get up, and I said, I'm going to mail this, go to the post office. She said, "Oh, I have something for the post office too. Let me get it ready for you. Let me address it for you when you go." And she got up out of bed to do that, and that's when she got the sudden, the angels
Shit.
gave her this tante. It's a tante, like you say in French. So that was it. She had to go, and the next day she was gone. The next night.
Shit.
Uh, so
Oh my God, I didn't realize. Sorry.
Yeah, it's crazy. But stigmata is the crazy thing about it, because Chris thought that too when he first interviewed me for the interview when it first came out. Chris Neves. And he was kind of a little amazed too, taken back by the fact that, first of all, that she had passed. He didn't know that then. It was very early. A lot of people didn't know it, that I knew even. And that I hadn't written it just for that, as a commemoration, as a tribute to her, totally, even though it was, because, I mean, in essence, I lived through it to its completion in that incredibly empty, nightmarish, the nightmares that you don't wake up from. It's the only time I felt, oh, usually you wake up from a nightmare. It's great. Wow, I was just dreaming. And at this one time, soon after she departed, I said, oh shit, man, I'm waking. I'm awake, but I'm not waking up out of this nightmare. So that was and I don't think it's any different from any other couple or whatnot, people that lose when that close to them. But so I lived through the rest and the completion of that album. And it certainly influenced some decisions in terms of, no, that's too many. That's an extra word. You don't need that. You don't need this. And, in terms of that, and maybe sequencing and taking out a track or putting in another one. Mostly just refinements, you might say. And but the synchronicity of her going and my feelings of bereavement, naturally, and that album seemed to come together that way. But my first entrance into that album was to work with, those materials. I had an idea. Of that period of music all of a sudden made sense to me.
Yeah.
Combining with that. Yeah. And then the whole Latin thing, and Vivaldi has a Stabat Mater that actually my wife, Mari, had played for me a couple of years before.
Shit.
She got into, and that Stabat Mater stayed in my mind. And then the whole period, which I had, of course, been exposed to on my own over several years, of Baroque.
I love Baroque music myself.
Choral, religious choral, Latin,
Yeah.
Whatever it suggested to me. I usually am influenced by suggestion. What you experience, you can't put it into words.
No.
So that's the way that's the story, not the long of the short or the long of it.
So, do you believe in ancestral memory?
I certainly don't disbelieve it. I tend to think I do, but I'm not,
Because
I have no
authority. I've always had a love affair with Venice. I used to live there for 30 years. And
I get too much.
And I was always convinced that I'd somehow lived there in a previous life. Although I'm quite a scientific guy, I'm not really a superstitious guy. But one day, I walked down a particular canal which I'd not walked down before, and I spotted a house, and I recognized it, and I thought, oh my God, I'm going to go, it'd be like something out of Don't Look Now. I'm going to go down this street and see a sign on the door with my name on it. And it wasn't.
Imagine if you did.
Imagine if I did, though.
Or if you looked up the records of the house, if they went back far enough, you could find your family. How many years did you live there, did you say?
27.
3 years. Yeah, that's good. Yeah. I always had a love affair with Venice, too.
Really?
Oh, yeah. I mean, especially before I was there. It was at Rome. I wanted to go there. It was, So I went one night after we did a gig right in Venice, but in more inland.
Right.
And my promoter, thankfully, is such an adventurous guy too, named Enrico, from Italian based. And he said, "Oh, you want to go to Venice?" He says, "Oh, I'm going to take you to Venice tonight after the show." And that was my first
Oh, wow.
exposure to it. When we got there, it was basically empty. It wasn't yet the summer, I don't think. And it was very lightly raining. So there was,
Oh, how beautiful.
like in the streets and we were like the only ones there. He took me
Oh, my God.
it was like 2 or 3 in the morning. He drove, parked the car with the another guy who was from the club itself, the promoter from the club. He wanted to see it too. Rico had been there so many times, and it was just like me in a sense. He's a real, you know, adventurer. Oh yeah, let's go, Venice, man. He said, I got to show you this. And then I went a couple more times after. And one time, I was fortunate to have a gig canceled on a tour with Rico, Suicide Show in Venice. We were supposed to do a Biennale there.
Mm.
I don't know if this is all necessary to talk about, but
Oh, it is nice, really interesting.
okay. The Biennale was canceled because the mayor the night before, they had it on the island like Venice is split.
Yeah, yeah.
So on the other side, the less known side, they had a big concert, and finally they had a new mayor, and the night before it was so loud that the mayor then proclaimed the next morning, no more concerts here. And we were the ones who were supposed to do it in like 2 days.
Oh, you're joking.
But the great thing about it is that we didn't have another gig after that for about another week or so. And I had at least 7 days or something, at least just in Venice, man, without having to do any gigs or travel or
Wow.
it was a dream.
Yeah.
And then I went back several years later with a friend of mine, and we spent just made a trip and just went there for like 2 weeks, just on our own.
It's just great. I think Venice is like a litmus test for whether you've got an artistic soul or not. The only people I've ever invited to stay with me who didn't get it were people who didn't have any art in their soul, really, to be honest. And
yeah, well, I mean, just on the cultural level of what has gone on there, but also the romantic level. I mean,
yeah,
people who never fell in love with Paris. I mean, we all fell in love with Paris, I think, before we even got there. It's better even before you go. The reality of, after a while, you go to Paris 3, 4 times, maybe. All right,
yeah,
But Paris, the idea, and what is it? It's like an ambience. It's you know, and it's everything that's happened there.
that's right.
It's the romance.
Yeah, Venice is
Venice is
it's like an immersive 3-dimensional experience.
yeah.
It's informed all my life. I brought my children up there. And
There's definitely something there for you.
yeah, absolutely.
Or maybe the ancestral.
Absolutely. But speaking of solace, going through some difficult times myself with the different things. I'm not religious at all, but actually, Venice is such a beautiful place. I find it incredibly soothing, but stimulating simultaneously, and I think that's what appeals to artistic people about it as well.
Yeah. Well, it's got incredible, unique artistic and theatrical theater, history of theater, among other things.
Absolutely.
Incredible positions like the whole school.
Let's just go back to the music for a sec. That was brilliant, by the way. Thank you. What drum machine did you use in early Suicide?
What? I'm sorry?
Drum machine.
Oh, well, the beginning of Suicide, I didn't use any drum machines. I played drums. I had a couple of pieces that I was lucky to have in my home with my kids, my wife, from a friend of my wife's. Her son left him with us, and there was a snare and a hi-hat and a ride cymbal. And at some point, well, in the beginning of Suicide, I didn't use a keyboard. So
Right.
I just wanted to, we started just jamming, just letting it
Right.
express itself. And I brought down these drums. It was the most convenient, portable thing I would do. And I loved doing it too. I go to the music store, I got my drumsticks, the ones I kind of like. And soon after, maybe a few months after that, I brought in this Wurlitzer electric piano that I had bought on time.
Love it.
Which was the early electric pianos, the early models before synthesizer or anything. Wurlitzer at Rhodes, right? And I added that. I started using that, and then I had the drums around it. I had like the snare next to it, so I could play with one hand, and then I could hit the snare 2 and 4 it beats on the other. I had a ride cymbal facing over the keyboard, so I could be playing the ride, and we would do gigs like that. But the early gigs, once I started exploring the electronic potential, souping up, so to speak, the Wurlitzer, uh, I more and more just dropped the drum aspect pieces because now I was hearing so much percussion in the feedback and in the beats that were coming out of the amp that we had bought, a big Fender amp. But I was beating out of that with all this electronic stuff. There was enough drums in there for me, and that's the way we we did our early shows after
Wow.
the first several, like after the few drums, whatnot, Max's Kansas City, the few they closed. And it was all like Alan and I know, and no other pieces except the electronic.
Wow.
That's we had really our first review in the English press. NME, I believe it was Roy Hollingsworth, who was a
Right.
noted critic, if you remember that. He happened to be there for, the Mercer Arts Center was a beautifully incredible, unique place. So many theaters at the same time, small modern theaters, like movie theaters, simultaneously. And he happened to walk into us. And that's what he said, what has rock created? I think that's the other. What has, and he just described this incredible experience he had. He couldn't believe it. The way we looked, the way we sounded, totally unexpected. And it was like expected by us to see that we had a review and it was actually a positive one. It was the first time out of a major English
Wow.
rag, you might say, as they all are.
How did the audiences react to you when they'd never seen you before? I mean, when you were first.
Most of the time, they were between bewildered, hostile. But, I mean, a couple of the people who knew us, Alan had friends that he had known. I knew, people in the more art-oriented community who came to hear us. They got it right away, but there's a small coterie, you might say. The between people, I mean, as we got into clubs, because the first few shows were galleries,
Right.
art gallery, loft spaces. People would leave there or yell things. We had a riot one night from a contingent of Latin American musician revolutionaries who came to museum. It's another story because museum was a place that had a lot of radical political events and whatnot. So they heard and they came in just to hear us. But that wasn't because of, I don't think, what we sounded like yet, because initially it was Alan. One guy pulled out his trombone and started playing. He obviously liked it. And Alan came over and he pulled the valve out of the trombone, slid it, ran out of trouble. Well, after that, there was a riot,
Oh.
chairs flying, all kinds of stuff. But that wasn't a typical reaction because they actually liked us, apparently. But that's what it was. We got into the clubs. It was a lot of hostility, but also it was New York. There was a inside ring of course, people who were art oriented, and a lot of them didn't get it, and then some of them did. They were cool, they were tolerant, and some really liked it. But for the most part, it was crazy. You know, we would play on weekends when crowds would come in. They call it, you know, the crowds come in from New Jersey and
Yeah.
around.
Bridge and tunnelers, yeah.
Yeah, New York, exactly, New York crowd. And man, you'd have a lot of, a lot of stuff, man. It was rough and tumble. People running out of clubs like the Mercerat Center, and
Were you attacked ever?
we weren't personally attacked. No, we were attacked in Europe. Our first European tour, of course. Not physically; they didn't have a chance to attack us, get close enough with themselves, but they got close with all kinds of stuff.
Right.
So in those days, there weren't any rules about, you know, what you could bring in. You had, paper cups and plastic cups only. So we got thrown all kinds of stuff. So every night, so the worst. And as we went into the Highlands, we started out in London. We started out with Elvis Costello on the continent. Every night there was a riot. There was a riot, literal riot. Elvis was playing already like pretty decent venues, theaters. He was just, he was making it. By that time, he was doing very well. He was on a 9-month tour. This is the last month. People were not expecting or ready or wanting. He had closer to a mainstream audience.
Yeah.
As much as punk could be at that time, he had him. So that was a riot every night. They had documented that, the Brussels and the Berlin sides that came out, that they put out on record. And then we went from there into the Fire, which was a UK tour supporting the Clash.
Wow.
And the Clash were already banned as well known and accepted as they were. They're doing well, but they couldn't play any established regular venue because the last tour had already got destroyed, all of them. So now they're playing all kinds of military bases, school auditoriums, airport hangars. That was the Clash tour, and this was another month with them, one after the other, going higher and higher and higher into the UK, into the Highlands, to the Midlands, to the Highlands. So you could just imagine what it was, man. It was riots, riots, riots. Until we got to Edinburgh. We did a solo gig, and at the end, we did 2 weeks of solo gigs. And they were actually much more civilized.
Right. Wow.
For us, or just, you see, that's in a way, one of the birthplaces of philosophy, Western philosophy. But that's what it was.
Yeah.
We got attacked in the close to physical. Well, Alan's gotten physically attacked. He's gotten punched a couple of times. Mostly once is enough because then you get off the stage. So and but the stuff thrown at us. We played the science fiction festival in Metz, France. You familiar with that? I don't know if it's still going.
No, never heard of
it. That was our first gig in Europe, and we thought, man, Europe, man, now we're finally going to have somewhat of a, kind of like the jazz musicians used to feel, some kind of respect. Like we're going to have acceptance. This is Europe, man. And we're going to France. And the Metz Science Fiction Festival, all the best writers at the time, was intellectual. Frank Herbert and those people giving lectures, besides the bands, and all those kinds of things. And we played a small little theater, small little room with a stage maybe 6 inches, maybe a foot at the most high, platform. And man, as soon as we started, we got it. People sitting on the floor, it was that kind of place. Boy, it was one of the worst reactions. And that was France at the science fiction haute couture.
It was intellectuals, man. They're violent.
Right. And from there, we went right into soon after, right into the Elvis tour. and then into the class. So it was one after the other. So it was a good indication. But in America, it was basically the same. We didn't have as much throne. We just had people hating it. There'd be people liking it, people leaving, of course.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And once in a while, people saying, one gentleman who I'd known several years before actually did a show where he was did one of the presentations. He was a poet, but he was a poet in a form that was so almost archaic but beautiful. He wrote like sonnets, like in the old form. He was a real Baroque romantic poet like this. And I was playing with this group, Steve Tintweiser, I mentioned, and he hired him to do one track with him or two. And it was great. Nobody, everybody dug it. I dug what he did. He did you. I saw him years later at a suicide show at the Mercy. He was sitting in the audience when I came out after sitting with some friends. Oh man, I've never heard such diatribe in my whole life.
Wow.
Such hate.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, such hate for him.
I've got a theory. Did the audience mainly think that you were deliberately being provocative? Do you think?
Oh, I'm sure. I'm sure many of them were. We were to some extent. I mean, Alan maybe more because he was modeling after, of course, the concept of audience involvement, to say the least. So, Alan, to involve the audience, to provoke the audience, would be part of involving them. Of course, get a reaction. I was, of course, in playing the sound and creating the sound, I could be feeling the same thing, especially once we got those reactions. People start yelling at us, screaming at this and that, not pleasant shit too. I would play into that. So now I'm playing, but I'm also feeding. First of all, I'm surviving what I want to do. I'm preserving. I'm not. In other words, I'm not going to quit. I'm not going to let you.
Yeah.
Take away my joy, my shit. This is my world, man. In other words, you don't like it, screw you. So now there is an maybe a little more even aggression in the tone too. Now it's an Alan too, even more, because now he's getting that reaction anyway. Some said it was the music more than even, it's more familiar. But the music, and on both levels, it was something that was a kind of an attack, but it wasn't my intention. And I think basically Alan's was to make something great. Alan had been an artist for several years before that, many years already. He was a little older than I was. And he was a dedicated artist. He was one of the most dedicated people I had met at that time, besides my wife and maybe one or two others that I met at museum too when I met him. So this was his life. This was not something that was, and the idea of his life was to create something new and
Yeah.
out of art. That was always his,
No passaran.
What's that?
No passaran. We will fight in the street.
Yeah, you're in the trenches now.
Yeah.
If you're going to attack us, now we're going to fight back, man.
But I tell you something. The thing that sticks in my mind is some of your stuff sounded very provocative, but then you've got things like Cherie, which is just heart-meltingly beautiful. Which is like the ultimate. If you were making if you were cooking a dish, it's the most unexpected combination of ingredients, and that's what always fascinated me about what you guys did. It was this total kind of dichotomy of this grinding together of different ingredients that meniscus. Oh, I'm coming out with some good words now. That meniscus between the the beautiful and the delicate and the aggressive is what made it special for me.
Well, you remind me that actually, I think it's more simply difference between fast and slow, which even rock and roll groups tend to vary their tempos. The fast tracks, like if I say like Ghost Rider, which was a very early one, like Cherie was very. To me, that wasn't aggressive any more than rock and roll. It was rock and roll. I'd found a way for myself to recreate the energy and the beat, the rhythm of rock and roll that always moved me. So I found a way to move myself through rock and roll with this, with my way of doing it, with no money, no instruments, and my ears not wanting to go.
Loves that.
So it was initially not aggressive, but it was as aggressive as rock and roll is. I mean, if the Stones do Satisfaction, or even going back before that, any fast 60s track has an aspect of it. That's why rock and roll was so special in its time. And it came out with a new brash, honest brass sound, rhythmic sound. And it was seen as aggressive too, sure, but it was
and sexually aggressive as well.
sexually aggressive. That's why they tried to slam it down, because it was a black music initially, and it was, now the whites and white girls were liking it just as much as the black girls, as much as the white girls. So of course now you had the reaction. You had the the black fire, the back.
That's right. That's right.
On to use a less advantageous description. So now when I got to Cherie, when I was playing Cherie, I felt the same energy. You see?
Right.
Cherie was just a ballad. Like if you take a slow, if you take the Stones doing "Time Is a Mind Sign," then that's not Street Fighting Man, and it's not.
True.
It's a different tempo. It's a different mood. But everybody has had them. I mean, that's just, but when I played it live, like with the Clash or anywhere else, Suicide was bristling. I could see the energy out of each chord was with the beat. You see, it was electronic. The energy of it, but in that context. So they all have it. I mean, Beethoven, all those guys, everybody who wrote anything, always, if they wrote more than one movement, the second movement was usually always slow. Sometimes the third they put it off. And Beethoven did it on the first movement, was his Moonlight Sonata, which is incredible.
Oh yeah.
The energy is underneath. It's still there, you see? But no, I guess you're not going to provoke as much with it in the same way, because you're not going to the line of force. Like some people used to talk about they felt there was like a straight, or Alan mentioned something, the energy force coming out of the music, the sound was like a laser.
Yes.
Line out. He said that he feels that on his back, like on him coming behind him, it pushes him too. He says he was reacting to the music a lot of it was the way he provoked the audience. The music would push him because the audience sounded like, okay, now let's get him. So you get him. Let me say, let's get him. It's because let's get the music out, man. Let's do it. Let's do it. So that laser thing is just maybe a slightly different tangent. A good physicist or electromagnetic physicist, especially, would describe better how the change in shift, like phase.
Yes.
Or maybe like curved space, like gravitation, like everything, light curves in certain dynamics of gravity.
That's true.
So Cherie curves that energy just a little bit to a slightly different angle.
It's just a beautiful piece of work. And Frankie Teardrop is my all-time favorite Suicide piece. And what inspired that from a lyrical point of view? I mean, you've got the inside track on this. So
I just heard that. I heard that basic soundtrack Rev, whatever. That was one of them I brought in to where we rehearsed, which was a museum in a basement. Called museum, wasn't a museum. It's a sketch class space at that time, a loft. And so we set up, and I said, so I just started playing that. And Alan started putting lines to it. At the time, it was Frankie Detectives, Spaceman. He did the Frankie lyrics that we know in the studio after we recorded it like 6 years later. And because that first record came maybe 6 to 7 years after we started.
Wow.
But
that's just so evocative to me. The one thing I think about Suicide in particular is you could pick a random 10-second section out of all of those tunes from your albums, and I would know who it was, even though if I didn't know the songs themselves. It's just something about the sound that you're emanating is so utterly unique. And now the other thing I was going to ask you about is, I'm a big believer in the power of limitations, the power of simplicity, and maybe only having a few ingredients, I don't know what you feel about that. For instance, if you'd have had instant access to a huge amount of instruments and a big 48-track studio from the outset, you'd have been coming out with different music, probably. What do you think?
No, I would have done it. It depends how early I had that.
Right.
At some point, Alan used to say, it doesn't matter what Rev has. We had one time we did a setting up at a show, I think it was called the Palace that time in Paris. And they didn't use the transformer and it exploded the keyboard. It just totally went on fire. So now we're sound checking and we have no keyboard. We got to do a show in a couple of hours. So all right, they decided we're going to try to rent something else, bring something else in. So they brought a Roland, something that I never played before. And Alan says you went over to it, you hit one note, see it was all right. The note sounded okay, and you made the whole music out of that because it had the right sound. You went to the bass. He said you went right to the bass, and you found you found the preset that was that bass, and that was it. So it's like your fingerprint. Everybody has it. It's what you like. It's what you try. When you get attracted to another person, there's something in their look.
Yeah.
Besides the way they are, but the first thing of a look, it's obvious. Some can be very obvious on the street. You go, wow, she's really hot.
Yeah.
But that can wear off very quickly. But there's hot, and then there's hot. There's other kinds of looks that appeal to certain people, and some of those don't appeal to the other person at all.
That's right.
Colors. You give a kid when he's painting red and blue and black, give him all those colors. And one child's going to put black over here and red over here and blue over here, and the other one's going to put blue over here and red over here and black over here.
Yeah.
That's why you have an infinite amount of artists and art and all this stuff.
That's right.
So, it's but your original question was basically that's what but there was a time
Limitation.
okay, the second album when Rick said to me he's the producer, River Krosnick, he has a whole lot of new instruments now, and they brought him in to produce. Do you want to make use of some of these? There's some cool stuff out now. And he told me about it. They just come out, like the digital, almost digital, not quite digital.
Yeah.
Keyboards, drum machines now, And a couple of years after we started, the first album, and he said, wow, hey, that looks cool. That looks cool. Yeah, let's get that. I'm fine. Get him, because we had the budget to do it. Michael Zucker at Z supported it. And so we came into the studio with a whole lot array of all these new things. And I just started exploring right away and laying down tracks. So it was a slightly different process. It's like you mentioned, Martin, having all these sounds. But by then I knew what was right for me and what was going to sound right. I was going to be able to take out and put in. And I think we always know that innately, but we don't always have the confidence in it when we're younger
That's
as
true.
much, maybe.
That's
So some of us. So, you know, some people say, musicians, once in a while, like, you get a message, you said, man, I don't know what to do now. I can't find anything. I have so much stuff, Get online and do everything. I said,
I call it option paralysis.
yeah, but it's foolish because you just got to keep going. You got to keep searching and exploring and editing, saying, I like this better than this, and this. Or I sound like, it's not a matter of using everything.
No, of course. Okay,
Maybe.
I've detained you far too long, Martin. I'm sorry.
Okay.
But I've just got a couple of questions to ask you, which I ask to every guest. The stupid questions are like,
I'm going to take a quick break and we'll do those couple of
all right,
questions. And then we wind it up. The break will be short. All right. TV shows.
there must be a TV show at some point.
I'll tell you what there is. First of all, I haven't watched TV in probably about since Maury
Oh,
departed. It's not an example, a reason mourning for her didn't affect necessarily that. The quality of TV affected it, and quite before, but we would enjoy certain things like late night movies if they were decent, good enough. We'll see our own videos or something. So I have no TV, and growing up, there were several that I watched because it was like the beginning of it was live TV in those days. A lot of
it was, yeah.
Oh yeah. So when you had comedy shows, you had great people, great comics. There's a whole tradition of apparently what they did was when TV was invented, which is a little before me, but not that much anymore. They went into, I found out that he said, now we have all this bandwidth, all this space, these channels. They invented this thing. How do we fill it up? We don't have anybody who knows how to do this. What are we going to put in here? So they went to vaudeville, dig this, and they got all these people off those burlesque vaudeville stages.
That's right.
Yeah, because they knew how to work live. Nobody else knew how to work live, their contemporaries. And unless they were on theater, more serious, stuff like this. But now they wanted to do especially for comedies. And these guys have been working for years, afternoon show, matinees, for like 20 people sometimes in the audience with overcoats on because they're getting ready to watch the strippers. Well, go ahead, what that implies.
Yeah, I've got the message, yeah.
Yeah, those kind of audiences, man, that's what they had done for years, but they had developed such a craft. So we're talking about Abbott and Costello, okay? And Milton Berle, all those people.
Yeah.
Sid Caesar, all those comics.
Yeah, shows, right?
Yeah. Then you had all these people like Jackie Gleason.
Yes.
Been around for years. And then they started appearing like, you'd have like a Johnny Carson. It wasn't Johnny Carson yet. It was other, and of course, they'd always have a comedian, and they'd start bringing these guys on, and they were incredible. These older guys, but they were like so real. You were right out of the city, right out of Brooklyn to, Bronx. And they were so fucking real. I mean, now you see comics, okay, they're, okay. Some of them are too. Usually the comics who come from a real experience, like the black comics, Hispanic.
Yeah.
Because they have something to reflect. Well, these guys were reflecting their Italian, Jewish experience, whatever. Yeah. First generation at the most, And so I used to love seeing that stuff. But The Twilight Zone was a great show.
Yes.
I would say at that time in my life, I used to watch American Bandstand every day when I got home from school. It used to be on every day.
Every day?
Yeah, I think so. American Bandstand for a while was on every day. I'd have to check that out. It sure seemed like it was. So Wednesday, I'd get home after 3 o'clock, and it would come on. And they knew they did it for a reason. It came on maybe at 3:34, and I'd watch it every day. And you saw everybody because they lip sync, but all the ones who the records had just come on the radio that day and whatnot.
Wow.
And Richie Valens, I mean, everybody, just and Sam Cooke. I mean, so. But I think the thing that I loved the most sometimes was to be able, the latest show, no matter what it was, if I could stay up that late, because you weren't supposed to be watching late. So after 11 or 10:30, that was it,
Yeah.
But when your parents went out somewhere, or, they weren't around, and now you started watching at 11.
Yeah. Felt really naughty, right?
Incredible. So, it wasn't always a favorite show, but it was, I remember Alfred Hitchcock.
Yes.
Hour used to come on at 11. That was like, oh man, that was like spooky shit. Good, cool. So, stuff like that. But I never had it. And
Yeah.
TV, like I say, is
No.
anyway, I've kind of explored it.
Okay, what's your favorite film? One of them.
And I could never have a favorite film. I could mention, ones that I can think of now, which means they move me enough to think of them. Older ones, but I'm going to leave out a lot because, they don't necessarily come to mind at the same time, but they were The Sporting Life, British Sporting Life.
Really?
Yeah. With
What?
Paris.
I would never have thought you'd have picked that. What a great film, though.
A great, great film. But I saw a lot of those I saw in the theaters as a kid, so they really moved me. Those black and white things, like The Pawnbroker, like the one about the pogrom in Czechoslovakia. What's the name of that one now? Where this woman has a little store. Oh, the store on Main Street. You ever see that?
No.
Check that out sometime.
I will.
Wow. The Shop on Main Street.
Shop on Main Street. Okay, I'm gonna look that up.
It's with a European, apparently she's a very respected actress. It's a Czech film.
This is interesting that you're going for kind of British and European stuff.
I love, reality in cinema. I guess I didn't think about it that way then,
Yeah.
but I like documents. Like recently, I was just flying home and I saw the recent Aretha Franklin Respect movie.
Yeah.
When you're searching for things on a plane, you get the best you can get. Or you don't watch. For me, So, all right, check this out.
Yeah, I will.
It's great. Well, I checked it out. So
yeah, exactly. Here's an interesting question. Is there a song that you think that you wish you'd written?
No, I never wish I'd written any songs. I mean,
Or you would have
approached it that way. I mean, there were songs that I just think are absolutely tops in every way. There are solos, but there are albums, there are jazz albums, there are so-called classical compositions and interpretations, and there are songs, and that, as we all know, those are the songs we love.
Yeah, of course.
Have I ever wished I'd written them? No, for some reason. I tend not to wish. Maybe I'm a little more realistic in that, to know that I can't write them anyway. So I didn't want to go, well, I'm not going to write them like that because it's either out of my time or
Yeah.
I found very early on, even when I started to improvise jazz and playing with some groups here and there, I could never really copy any. I could never, and some musicians were so good. They already had the most current, hippest style down. It was virtuosic. It was already, a level of virtuosity, of course. Okay, maybe I was too in a certain way. But because their ears, they could reproduce it. They could hear actually what was happening. I always heard what was happening on another plane, first dimension.
on your own planet. Yeah.
On my radar, yeah, like I should be the colors, color kind of thing. Whatever it is, it's a personal way in which I would react to. Oh shit, that's beautiful, beautiful.
Yeah.
I sit down and try to do it. No, it doesn't come out that way. Now, eventually, it might seep in. As I got better and better and better, and there's still aspects would seep in, like influences. But there is
I'll
too.
ask the question in a different way then. What song or piece of music affects you most emotionally, or one of them?
Oh, I can't say, Martin, one in particular. I mean, because different ones. I mean, want me to? I have to start listing the ones that
No, yeah, okay.
they're all different.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm very eclectic also, and it's a hard question.
Well, it's not even that. It's the human emotional, I guess, matrix is very maybe very not so. It's pretty simple. I mean, things relate to your heart. So now it could be something that relates to you and reminds you of a loss of someone,
Mm.
but the way it's performed. Uh, you ever hear Dinah Washington do Blue Gardenia?
No, I'll look that up. Definitely.
Well, I heard that very soon after Mari passed too, and then and it can still give me that feeling now because of the performance and the execution.
Yeah.
Then again, Ravel wrote a piece called Scarbo. But he wrote a piece called Gaspard de l'Ennui.
Right.
Okay, 3 pieces, 3 tableaux. Well, Ondine the first, and Le Gibet, and Scarbo is the third. Well, they all moved me because I listened to them at that time too. When I was smart. I was still with orchestra, but the Gibet especially has a quality, and anyone who knows it will know this, that is so incredibly reaching to the loneliest place that you could have at that time. I'm not saying there's not a lonelier, and that still does it. So could I say that's and Blue Gardenia is doing that too.
Right.
Now this is a song with words and Dinah Washington, a different time. So there's a lot of them like that. A lot of rock and roll like that. A lot of 50s stuff. It also makes me feel just like, wow, that's so fucking great. And
Yeah.
it doesn't have to be sad.
I have to tell you, there is one piece of music that I cannot actually listen to without crying, which is it's by Henry Purcell, the British composer, and it's called it's from an opera. I can't remember the name of the opera, but the song's called "When I Am Laid in Earth," and it's sung by a soprano. I don't know if you know it. It's the most beautiful.
Yeah, the opera is
Um,
the story of Aeneid.
that's it.
And yeah,
It's one of the most beautiful pieces.
she's
Like you're talking about it makes me cry.
Yeah, she's getting ready to commit suicide.
Yeah, that's it. Just think kindly of me.
Cleopatra was another. Yeah,
Yeah, that's just
Dido and Aeneas.
that's it. That is.
Dido and Aeneas.
I'm impressed with your music knowledge.
My memory.
Yeah, and the final question.
Yeah,
What's your favorite synth?
my favorite
Synthesizer.
Oh, I don't have those at all because I never really used a synthesizer.
Ever?
I never used because, of course,
Yeah.
the first I made my own souped up. I used to do with cars, my hot rod, and it's
Sonic Hot Rod.
out of the Wurlitzer in the beginning. And I went on to a Farfisa organ, which also needed to be souped up.
Can't beat that Farfisa sound.
And the Farfisa is not a synthesizer, but
Well, it is in a way.
Well, it wasn't a way. It's just a regular key. Yeah. But as far as it was polyphonic, and also the synthesizers at that time were all monophonic.
Yeah, that's true.
And I wasn't into. There were a lot of groups who had them, and fine, but it wasn't going to work for me. First of all, monophonic wasn't going to work because now there aren't any other musicians too.
Right.
And I love that sound that I could, I guess, dig into like the earth, of a real multi-harmonious. I'm a very harmony oriented.
Yeah.
Or in later life times.
It's beautiful.
But so since I always dug, I mean, between Moog and everything came after, and now you have, of course, polyphonic. Maybe the closest one I came to was the Prophet on the second album.
Right.
But I've never been totally magnetized to getting into more than when I play live now. I still use a regular keyboard going through module stuff, which is letting.
Yeah, sorry, carry on.
Yeah,
There's a lesson there for everybody, I think.
maybe there is. I don't know. It's what it's what you like. Go for what you like. Go for what moves you. Go for what you do.
Exactly, Martin. It has been one of the greatest pleasures I've had on the whole podcast series talking to you.
I'm thrilled. Really.
Listening to your experiences and your insights is. I get criticised for fawning over my guests, and to be honest, it's only a few of them that I do, and I'm a fan. So
thank you for that.
It's I know how much it boosts one's confidence when people say that about me. So I'm never shy about telling people what I think.
Yeah, no, it just makes it a little more interesting to have a conversation rather than when did you do this?
Well, yeah. And the usual stuff that you get. The PR agency sends out the questions, and
it's a little more refreshing. Thank you.
Oh, well, I'm glad you've enjoyed it, and have a great rest of the day. And I'm going to try and get this out in the next, maybe even next week, actually, because I think your new reimagining is coming out on the 8th, I believe, in the UK.
Is that what it is? Okay.
Yeah. So I'm going to try and do that, and then it all works for everyone.
Yeah, great.
Yeah. Have a great time, and
you as well.
If you ever come to the UK, please give me a shout, and I'll come and say hello.
You're there, please come. You're in London? You're based in London?
I'm based in London, yeah.
Oh, good. Okay.
Yeah. All right, man.
All right.
Thanks so much. It was brilliant. Thank you.
Me too. See you soon, Adam.
See you soon. Bye.